Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Bay'u salam. And we talked about the first two conditions. Isn't it true?
Yeah. And third too.
We're in the fourth condition. Bay'u salam, by the way, it is a format of a business trade and selling contract that most of the Islamic banking use. You remember we talked a little bit about Boeing and company that make planes. From Islamic perspective, هو بيع يعني آجل بعاجل. The definition of it, بيع آجل بعاجل. What do you mean by that? A person give money and says, I want to buy a car from Toyota, custom made. The Toyota give you a catalog and said the car will look like this. We are a manufacturer making cars. You know that. We're established. The car that custom made, this is going to cost you this much, and this are how it looks and so forth. They take the cash and then they deliver the car later. That's acceptable Islamically. That's called Bay'u Salam. You provide the cash, and you deliver the good later. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. Now, the Imam Ghazali rahimahullah was talking about the condition in which that you can have all of that. قال يستخصص في الفؤاد الأمور القابلة للوصف, that a person have to describe the good in a way that there is nothing being left of it. Every aspect of it has been described. Nothing unturned. Therefore, nothing hidden. No surprises. ولا يتغابن بمثله الناس إلا ذكره. التغابن is something that a person who's not familiar, who's not aware of something, and then regretting this, like يوم التغابن يوم القيامة. That's why I say غبن المسترسل ربا. To sell something to someone who is not familiar with it by raising the price so much, and the person who's a traveler that's not aware of it, that's considered riba. Like you have a Japanese tourist in your car and you drive in a cab, and you told them that that costs $5, it's going to cost them $50. هذا غبن. People do that. The distant $5, he said $50 because he doesn't know.
Cabs during Hajj.
What that?
Cabs during Hajj.
During Hajj,
50 riyal per person. 50 dinar.
Yeah. No, even riding on a motorcycle cost me 150. I was riding behind somebody, 150 riyals. Just motorcycle.
From where to where?
From Mecca to Al-Aziziyah. 150,000 motorcycle. Yeah. And with a very nervous ride. He's supposed to pay me the end of that. I was in Sudan in the cab, and when I entered the cab locked the door. Yeah. Because the door doesn't lock, it doesn't lock. And therefore he has a stick shift. When he changed gear, he asked me to hold it, because it goes back there until we arrived. I said, you should pay me. He must
have been crawling then driving.
What that?
He must have been crawling then driving.
Yeah, that's how. Therefore, فإن ذلك الوصف هو القائم مقام الرؤية في البيع. Because in trade, you have to be able to see what you're buying. If you cannot see it, a person has to describe it enough for you to see, to make a decision. And that's why in car, for example, the manufacturer, they take a picture of the car in every aspect of it. They take a picture of the engine, the side, the rear, the interior, every aspect of it. And that is perfect because it gives you an accurate description. الخامس أن يجعل الأجل معلوما إن كان مؤجلا فلا يؤجل الحصاد ولا إلى إدراك الثمار بل إلى الأشهر والأيام فإن الإدراك قد تقدم وقد يتأخر. A person cannot make the date of delivering of the good vague. Has to be specific. You cannot say, I will deliver it next year. Say, what day next year? Because if you make it not specific, it is subject to dispute. It has to be specific. And for example, a person said, when the crops, I pay you when the crops ripe. You know, it has to be specific. What time estimating the crop to ripe? Okay. السادس, this is number 6, أن يكون المسلم فيه ما يقدر على تسليمه وقت المحل ويؤمن فيه وجوده غالبا فلا ينبغي أن يسلم بيع السلم يعني في العنب لأجل لا يدرك فيه وكذلك سائر الفواكه. That means you cannot do بيع السلم in something that it may not occur. For example, all of us we know that the date ripes on August in Sudan. A person cannot say, I will deliver dates for you in January, because there will be no dates in January. Therefore, he cannot make a deliver time at the time he cannot deliver. If the making of the car would take 2 months, he cannot say in 2 days, or 3 days, or 4 days, because it has to be in the time that can be deliverable. السابع, and by the way, when a person, when it is on crops, if there's something happen, a person can give a person more time, couldn't deliver, or the person return the money and the contract will be nullified. You know, no. Now, nullified. السابع أن يذكر مكان التسليم فيما يختلف الغرض به كما لا يثير ذلك النزاع. A person also have to specify the delivering place. Say, I will deliver it to your home, or you come take it from the manufacturing, or I will deliver it in this exhibit that day. It has to be a specific place where you're delivering the goods. شرط في بيع السلم. طيب. أن لا يعلقه بمعين فيقول من حط يعني لا يعلقه بمعين يعني a person should not be more specific when it comes to fruits. For example, a person says dates. You cannot say from this tree. Something happened to the tree. You can say dates only. If you give you money, you deliver dates to me. But you cannot specify a particular tree. قال من حنطة هذا الزرع أو ثمرة هذا البستان فإن ذلك يبطل كونه دينا. Become like a dates. Okay. نعم لو أضاف إلى ثمرة البلد أو قرية كبيرة لم يضر ذلك. If you said from the orange of Florida or Florida orange, that's fine. But you cannot make a specific trees in a specific place. That's not acceptable. التاسع أن لا يسلم في شيء نفيس عزيز الوجود مثل ذرة موصوفة يعز وجود مثلها أو جارية حسنة معها ولدها وغير ذلك ما لا يقدر عليه غالبا. He said that the person you cannot make it in a way that is difficult for them to deliver. Something that is not tangible or difficult, before that contract is not acceptable. All of this is Islam going to reduce corruptions and deceiving and deceptions in business. العاشر أن لا يسلم في طعام مما كان رأس المال طعاما سواء كان من جنسه أو لم يكن ولا يسلم في نقد إذا كان رأس المال نقدا وقد ذكرنا هذا في الربا. Remember that you cannot deal with money, but food was food. That considered riba. Now, the other contract called ijara. Now, many Islamic banking do this. You know what ijara is?
Renting, rent to own.
Rent to own. Ijara, a person has the money. The person wants to buy a property. The person, the money said to the person who owned the property, says, I would buy the property for you. Okay, specify the property. Go and seek a property. He said, I found this house, I want to buy this house. The bank says, I will buy the house for you. But you, whatever down payment you put, share, will be percentage of the rent. What they do is that they say, this is the house, me and Imam, I pay 80%, he paid 20%. We estimate how much the rent every month, say $1,000. That means that he has to pay me out of the months, how much? 800. Because 200 is his share. But if you want to buy my share in the house, then we estimate the value of the house and say, the 800 is the rent. You pay me another 200. Stop paying my share. You buy my share. Therefore, my share got reduced. After a year, say my share become 70%. Now, he has now $300 instead of $200. The house value goes up. His percentage and the appreciation have increased because now it's 30% instead of 20%. Mine is reduced. I can do it in the way that until my share all being sold to this man. You know, that is Islamically, nothing wrong with that. The only problem sometimes with Islamic banking is that they do two aqd in one aqd. عقدين في عقد. This is the problem. You have to separate the two aqd. One of them has to be a rental agreement separate from a selling agreement. You cannot do the two aqds in one aqd. عقدين في عقد. You have to separate them so that there be two contracts that people have. Now,
How about if you're getting something that has got wear and tear? Okay, so let's say I have a house, but because of the use, the paint has to be done, the roof has to be changed and stuff like that. So
it depends what the contract we have. If the contract says that because you use the house and I don't, you are in charge of the maintenance, that's fine. Islamically. But if something happened to the house, both of us lose.
Right. Now, what happens if the party who is supposed to be buying this cannot pay his monthly rents? And
yeah, what they do, they take the house and sell it. If the house bring money, so far what you pay is that different between the Islamic finance supposed to be and the conventional loan.
okay. So here's the issue. So I came and did this, and then I rented it out to somebody, and this person after 2 years said, "I don't want to pay anything." Okay. Now, from the time that I have done, he says, "I don't want to pay anymore," and he walks away, to the time that it takes me to sell it is maybe 2 years. During that 2 years, who's incurring the cost of the loss during those 2 years?
You count for him the amount of rent that for 2 years, because he cannot walk away from a contract.
Right.
And then you reduce that from the value. That question had been given to Sheikh before. You get my point?
Yeah.
Because he entered a contract which is made you, he said to you, I paid 20%, you paid, in Ijara system, a person have to have value to add value. It cannot be zero.
Right.
In this house contract, I've seen where if you go through a Islamic institution, it works like that. But if you do private ijaras, then sometimes it's a little better because what you do is if the 80% is owned by the person who's living there owns 20%.
Right.
And the person who has financed this owns 80%, they will split that percentage for the house property tax and major maintenance, like if the furnace goes.
That even better. That is
That's I went through a private contract. And
that even better.
Because you own bigger part of the house, you have to take the bigger share of the kind of capital expenses.
Yeah, but the people who say that the person who the user maintain the house, and by the way, even from a certain perspective, if you look at the Maliki fiqh, the people who rent in a property, it is only in the modern way that they say the owner of the property have to always to maintain it.
Yeah. And it is unfair because if somebody who can only afford 20% of that house,
No.
that means that they are financially strapped. Otherwise, they would not get a ijara, right?
Yes.
Now, for that person to have a $2,000 expense in 1 month because the furnace went, or is paying the property tax on the house that may be 10,000, is
Burden.
unreasonable.
Yeah,
You have to share it by the percentage of ownership.
that's ihsan. That's ihsan. Now, what do you say, Sheikh Ahmed?
The maintenance are separate from the taxes and so on is always the responsibility of the landlord. This could not be shifted to the resident. The maintenance, as the Sheikh is saying, depends on the area, depends on the urf.
The urf.
The urf in Virginia is actually very different when you rent than it is in New Mexico where I lived before. So you follow the urf, that would be the safest thing. But in terms of the internal maintenance, it could be agreed upon, not the taxes, not the other things that are liability of the actual house.
I like the fact that you follow the urf of that. Because al-ada muhakkam. The urf is done. But what you did in this, whoever did this did the ihsan to make it less. And by the way, as business-wise make a lot of sense too. You're helping the person so the person doesn't get default. You know, one of the problems is that the person have so much bills to pay, gets default, and the people lose the money.
And both of them
Yeah.
get into difficulty.
Yes. نعم. فشيخنا الغزالي يقول رحمه الله وعقد الرابع الإجارة وله ركنان. He said 2 pillars in the عقد. الأجرة والمنفعة. أما العاقد واللفظ فيعتبر فيه ما ذكرناه في البيع والأجرة كالثمن. فينبغي أن يكون معلوما موصوفا بكل ما شرطناه في المبيع إن كان عينا. A person cannot rent, get the عقد of إجارة of rental of something that is not known. It has to be describable, tangible, deliverable, this kind of thing. إن كان دينا فينبغي يكون معلوم الصفة والقدر وليحترز فيه من أمور جرت العادة بها وذلك مثل كراء الدار بعمارتها فذلك باطل. This is Shafi'i opinion, by the way. A person renting the house, there's no rent, payment rent. He said fix the house and the fixing of the house is the rent. Shafi'i is not acceptable. It has to be specifically because what do you mean by fixing the house? بعمارتها or just or by living in the house is considered the rent. Why? Because you're making that person who living in the house vulnerable. You can kick him out at any time. It has to be a contract has a date from beginning to the end. You know, you cannot say to somebody, okay, stay in my house. By staying in the house is the rent. You know, بعمارتها. فإن قدر العمارة مجهول. Either fixing it, especially with the maintenance.
So you're saying that in Shafi you cannot pay the rent in kind, like for services that will count as rent. You can.
Yes. Or to say to a person, I want to do maintenance of the house. Your maintenance of the house is the rent.
You can't do that.
Yeah, he said it's unknown. It has to be specific. Anything in a contract is unknown, majhul, is not considered a good contract in Islam. Because the whole purpose here is to reduce any kind of deceptions or abuse in a contract or dispute. You know, but it makes a lot of sense business-wise. The more that you reduce all of the dispute, the more you have more stable economy. لو قدر داهم وشرط على المبتدئ أن يصرفها في العمارة لم يجز. Even if he says the rent is $100, but the $100 you must, this $100 you must use it to fix the house for me. I'm not going to take it from him, just fix the house for me. He said no. You give it to him, let him fix his house. Right? لأن عمله في صرف العمارة مجهول ومنها استئجار السلاح على أن يأخذ الجلد بعد الصلخ واستئجار نعم السلاخ. You know السلاخ? You know what the سلاخ is? The person who freed the skin of the animal. منها استئجار السلاخ على أن يأخذ الجلد بعد الصلخ. That he says I'm hiring you to help me to free the skin, but only your payment is the skin itself. واستئجار حمال الجيف بجلد الجيفة وسائل الطحال بالنخالة وبعض الدقيق فهو باطل. Islam يا أخي is beautiful. What happened if he while he's, because he put in a pressure on the guy, he freed the skin and then he cut the skin. The skin become not good. He did the labor and then he told him that, you know, well, you're gone. Your work actually, you want to, and you're going to eat the meat and you enjoy it and so forth. When he paid nothing. He said you shouldn't do that. What is more specific and beautiful than Islam? Like, قال وكذلك كل ما يتوقف حصوله وانفصاله على عمل الأجير فلا يجوز أن يجعل أجرة ومنها يقدر في إجارة الدور والحوانيت مبلغ الأجر ولو قال لكل شهر دينار ولم يقدر أشهر الإجارة كانت المدة مجهولة ولم تنعقد الإجارة. Even if a person said specifically how much the rent is a month, but he didn't tell how long, also is a problem. He's supposed to say how long I'm renting the place to you, because you don't want to kick a person. He said he gave the example of hawanit, because say if a person rent a store and want to open halal meat, and you say you pay me 1 month every month $1,000, but he didn't say the contract for 1 year, 2 years, and so forth. The guy established his business, put his equipment, and invested like $50,000, and 3 months later said get out. It's not fair. You have to give a person specific time, that the person can make the sound judgment whether he wants to take this or not. But you cannot make it, you know, unknown. The rent. Even if you say month by month, it still is specific. But you cannot say I'm renting it, you know, whenever I ask you to leave. That doesn't make any sense.
But if it is agreed upon, whenever you kick me out, it's okay. If they agree, both of them agree, then.
Yeah, it's still it's unfair. You took advantage of someone who's in need of a place to stay. You know what I mean? Person get in and you kick them the next day. You make it specifically said 1 month. But give each other 2 weeks notice before you leave. That's acceptable. But it has to be specific. It's meant to reduce dispute. الركن الثاني المنفعة المقصودة بالإجارة وهي العمل وحده إذا كان عمل مباح معلوم يلحق العامل فيه كعلفة يتطوع به الغير عن الغير فيجوز الاستئجار فيه وجملة فروع الباب تندرج تحت هذه الرابطة ولكن لا نطول بشرحها فقد طولنا القول فيها في الفقهيات وإنما نشير ما تعم به البلوى فراعي في العمل المستأجر على 5 أمور. He said the person, the rent, say the person said to the person, I will rent you my land to cultivate it. To cultivate the land, I'm renting it. You pay me 1/3 of the crops. But the person is raising opium. Is it permissible? It has to be halal. The things that they agreed upon has to be halal. Because subhanAllah, a person might have all the contract sound right on the shurut, but the thing that it deals with it itself is haram.
Yeah,
For
but
example,
opium is used in medicine a lot.
What that?
Opium is also used in medicine.
I'm not sure. Yeah, okay.
That's
Okay.
where the heroin comes from.
What that?
The morphine, that's where morphine comes from.
Yeah, I was talking about opium that the people now fighting over it in Pakistan, Afghanistan, in Kurdistan, and places, all that. And
And if
I'm
it
talking
is
about that where there's war, drug wars, and so forth. I'm talking about this kind of
anything
selling.
that's been declared illegal is what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Or hashish in Sudan, or hashish in, whatever it is not permissible.
So how about this? I rent out the land, and the person has grape trees on it.
Grapes is fine.
Okay, but
But if a
He
person
sells-
tell you that I'm a manufacturer of alcohol, I'm going to use your land to raise grapes to make alcohol, then you cannot do that. As long as he said his intention. A person said, rent me the store, I'm going to open a liquor store on it. You know you're going to open a liquor store. It's not permissible for you to do that.
how about I'm renting it, he raises grapes. At the end of the year, he sells the grapes. Some of it is sold to alcohol manufacturers, some of it is sold to a grocery store.
That I assume the halal aspect. This is okay because he's selling it and people are buying it. They're doing this, but if he is a manufacturer, he
Right.
says that's not permissible. Like you have a hotel. Somebody come with a spouse, somebody with a girlfriend.
Right.
You're not gonna police every person. You know what I mean? You're gonna ask everyone for ID. Your purpose is to have a hotel, but you cannot sell alcohol in the hotel. You see what I'm saying?
Actually, some go after the intention. Other people don't consider the secret intention. Whatever they do is their business.
Yeah, yes. You a hotel for people to rest. What they do in the private room is not our business. Yeah.
Imam, I have a question with regard to, I'm from the state of Washington. They have recently passed marijuana to be
Medical use.
legal. Open trade of marijuana, buying like alcohol. Alcohol is legal. They made marijuana legal in 2 states in the United States. One is Denver, Colorado, and one is the Washington state. Now, this is going to present another issue with
I know. But you see, for us as Muslims, alcohol and the marijuana is the same.
That's correct.
You see, people, let me, I'm going to say controversial things. And I know I'm being taped. Okay. Marijuana and alcohol is the same. Legalizing alcohol or legalizing marijuana, both is not permissible. Relationship before marriage or relationship of the 2 men or 2 women, all not permissible in Islam. We're not going to partition morality. Do you partition morality in Islam? You say this is okay, this is not okay. Well, Allah says it's not okay. You're going to make an exception? You don't make an exception. تكفرون ببعض. That's why when people... Huh?
So what was it? The ayah?
That you believe in some of the book and you read some of the book. All of it is the same from Islamic perspective. You know what I mean? But but how people get to desensitize themselves from sins when they gradually they says this is okay, although it's not okay from the scripture. This is okay. This is too far. Then what will happen? Then this become okay, and they become too far. Then they become okay, they become too far. When it comes a time everything is too far, it's not too far anymore. لو اتبع الحق أهواءهم لفسد السماوات والأرض. If the truth will follow the human desires, then the corruption will appear in the heaven and the earth and the sky and the space and the land and everywhere. It's not. Right. قال, there's 5 things a person has to consider. أن يكون متقوما بأن يكون فيه كلفة وتعب. والزوجة طعام اللي يزين به الدكان أو الشجار اللي يجفف عليه الثياب أو دراهم يزين بها الدكان لم يجزي. إن هذه المنافع تجري مجرى الحب سلسلة محبة سبحان الله. قال أن يكون متقوما بأن يكون فيه كلفة وتعب. He said anything that people do in business in ijara had to exert effort. He said a person cannot rent money to decorate his store, have the nanir hanging, or why is Islam saying that? Because you see, Islam is for development, not for consuming only and spending only. Extravagant, way we deal with things. It's for human development. Money is a manner, is a tool to make human life easy, but cannot use for all of this kind of nonsense. That's very important. That's why it's not permissible in Islam to eat from the plates made of gold. You know that, because you are really holding gold in plates instead they're supposed to be in a market. Gold is money. Or the silver. Those are 2 things. You cannot make, plates out of dollars. Have you seen people, they take the dollars or the pounds or so forth and they burn it sometimes? It's not permissible Islamically. Not permissible.
It's true.
Right.
What about those glasses? You see they have a little bit of gold all the way around them all the time.
What's that?
Glasses? You see some that
That's
have
real gold? It's not real gold.
It's not? I don't know.
No, if it's gold, it's not permissible. But sometimes it's gold color, No. طيب. قال look فإن هذه المرأة تجري مجرى حبة السمسم وحبة بر من العيال وذلك لا يجوز بيعه وهي كالنظر في المرآة الغير والشرب من بئره والاستظلال بجداره والاختبزال من ناره وهذا لو استأجر بيعلى أن يتكلم بكلمة يروج بها سلعته لم يجوز. There's something here. The last one is a little bit controversial. Listen to this carefully. How people, he said that you cannot sell. The beginning is understandable. As somebody walking and you have a mirror in your store, and a person stood like this and did like this, and put their hat on and they look themselves in the mirror. I say, pay me. Look to the mirror. He said that's not permissible. You cannot sell the image of the mirror, but just put something in the mirror. You know the joke on this? Sheikh Ahmed Smith had a guy went to near a bakery, and the bakery baking the and he starts smelling it. You know the joke?
No.
He's smelling it, and the baker opened the door and find somebody and say, it's beautiful. He said, pay me. You smell my pig. He said, okay. He took a dirham and he threw it on the floor. He said, you heard the sound? He said, I paid. No. والاستظلال بجداره, he said the person cannot ask him to pay them because the person walked under the shade of the wall in their home. Said, you use my shade. The shade is not yours. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The shade. You cannot sell shade. And so on and so forth. But he says, shukran, appreciate it. Look at this. ولهذا لو استأجر بياعا على أن يتكلم بكلمة الرج بها سلعته لم يجز. هذه النقطة هنا. issue of advertisement. He said if the person were to hire a salesperson, a person بياعا على أن يتكلم بكلمة. He said, I'm going to pay you. Just stand here and say, this is the best hummus in the world. The best hummus in the world. He said, best hummus in the world. He said, this is not permissible.
Why is that?
But that?
Why is that?
Because you hire a person to say something, it might not be accurate. And therefore, that will lead also to lying in advertisement. Because you say, I said to you, by the way, I'm selling the socks, but it's not the best in the market. But I want you to make it the best socks ever human have. This is what advertisement does. Therefore, I come to you and I put the value on things, not because of the value of it, because of how much talked have done, have advertisement.
Truth in advertising.
What that?
Truth in advertising.
Truth in advertisement is fine. But a person come and like, why the children, they like Nike? Sometimes I find shoes more reliable than Nike, true or not?
No.
But Nike become what?
Name.
A brand name. You see what I'm saying? That I can pay, look at this from some perspective. Islam says let the value of things be the actual value. Not me, I use this for, cost me $1, but I'm paying $7 for advertisement. So I sell this $25. You have only the $2 to make this. You made it $1. You put only $1 in advertisement, but this value of this is not going to be equal to the value of that because of the word. Did it make sense or no? Make sense? يا أخي, Islamic law, ulama, they're genius. I think that Imam al-Ghazali should be a professor on Wall Street and Harvard Business School. Even that, it will be too small for him, actually. Rahimahullah. Aywa?
What about buying medicine? Medicine is advertised, pharmaceuticals are advertised, the advertising costs more than the development and the production of the pharmaceuticals.
That's what he's saying. Because of that, the price goes up. Because, you see, everyone is competing by making things, descriptions and describing things, sometimes it's not actual. And therefore, the person who dominates the market with advertisement and TV ad and so forth get to make more money, although the value of things is not zero.
Well, I just want to say, there's one other thing in defense of the drug manufacturer. Drug manufacturers start with thousands of different drugs, and they spent years on it. They spent billions of dollars.
Do a lot of research.
Do research, and then at the end, out of all of them, maybe one of them succeeds. And they have, the smartest people working, doing all sorts of research work for years, and they may not produce anything. So the amount of risk they're taking is really huge, huge risks to produce medicine.
The price they are charging patients. It's not equal to the price they are charging the patients.
They increase in the price.
It's increased. It's too much.
Of course, drugs is something that people need also. They have to pay for it.
Now,
Yeah.
there could be some justification. More than what you take $1 to manufacture this piece. There should be some justification for cost of the salesmanship, advertisement. All that should be included into the cost of manufacturing in order to outreach millions of customers.
Yeah.
You cannot exclude that
No. He's saying and that all of this has to be the effort being done into it, make people known. People, even the Rasul time, people stand in the market and they talk about their things, the person who's selling it. But he is saying that the person who's selling it can say that. But hiring people who have nothing to do with it, just to say a good word about it, and there's something here very interesting. Look at this. He says, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, it is not permissible for a person to use their position to influence the market. Say, I'm Muhammad Majid, Imam of Adams, and two brothers have restaurant. Both food are good. One of them is my relative. I stand up and says, the best food in restaurant, it is my cousin so and so.
What's the name of the place?
No. You see what I'm saying? If I say that, I'm using my influence, maybe the other person have the better food. But because I'm the Imam, I have the podium, I have the microphone, I say this. He says, especially if that person have hired me. He said, I cannot take commission from saying this in the microphone for so-and-so to get his food being sold. He said, everything I eat is haram. You hear what I'm saying? SubhanAllah.
So if a car manufacturer goes and hires a well-known Hollywood actor to come in and advertise the car on TV, is doing exactly what you just said.
Yeah, but especially he said the people in influence of political power, or that person cannot use their position to manipulate the market, which has happened in most of the Muslim countries. The son of the president, he doesn't pay a penny. He doesn't take any risk. The person had the money and the worker. He said, okay, I'm renting my name. Put my name as a sharik, as a partner. Why? Because that will put a political influence, will open market, will scare other merchants, or a prince, or a princess. Say, just lend in my name. Imam Ghazali said this is haram money.
So let me ask you a question in that regard. So in many of the Muslim countries, you don't have the ability to own property. Okay? So what you have to do is so this is like in Dubai, like this. So a person comes from Pakistan, wants to open a store. He has to, the ownership is done by a local, and all the work is done by the Pakistani.
Imam Ghazali says, a person cannot use their influence.
There's no influence. This is a normal guy. He because of the fact that he was born in that country, he has the permission to own the store. But the foreigner doesn't have the permission. So the foreigner has to pay a fee to this guy.
But that is a maruf in Saudi Arabia.
Huh?
That is a maruf in Saudi Arabia.
I know. I'm asking, is it permissible?
It's
I know they do it. But the question of doing it is not one thing. Permissibility is another thing.
Yeah. If you want to look at the Islamic perspective, Islam believes in a complete free market. Guidance with the boundary, there's no riba, there's no room, and so forth. You can own a land wherever you may be in the world, as long as you pay for it.
But I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is this person has done nothing to have that. He hasn't worked.
Not only that, give me more details. I have known some people build business for 30 years in one of the Muslim countries, and the person who been paying him died. His children says, "Out, you're out." I said, well, guys, I built this business. So we own the property, we own the license, even your residence card is in our name. Get out of here. And there is no recourse. There is no way do that. هذا ظلم.
Okay.
Imam, how about the loyalty? You know, there, like in America, there are a couple of things that you invent, right? Then pharmaceutical comes.
That's permissible. That's absolutely right. There's no problem. طيب قال وما يأخذ البائعون عوضا عن حشمتهم وجاههم وقبول قولهم في دروج السلع فهو حرام. سمعت يا شيخ؟
Can you translate?
He said there are some people, they take compensation because of their influence and their position in the society, and because people accept whatever they say, and therefore they promote merchants based on that position they have, and whatever they earn because of that is haram. You learn new things. You learn new things today.
He is saying every ruling on the Shafi context, not on other three schools.
Yeah, but this, by the way, also in the
Because in some contracts or some business dealings, there's a difference between Malki and Shafi.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's true. But this aspect here, it makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, political corruption. People, how dictators make billions of dollars and they never worked a penny for it? How? They use their political influence. They use their political influence and their children influence and their family influence. They're not business people. And this is close the door on that. Okay. ليس يصدر منهم إلا كلمة لا تعب فيها ولا قيمة. He said nothing they do except a word says this is good, this is bad. He said they don't exert any effort or any energy, just influence. وإنما يحل لهم ذلك إذا تعبوا بكثرة التردد وبكثرة الكلام في تأليف أمر المعاملة ثم لا يستحقون الأجرة المثل فإما من تواطأ عليه الباعة فهو ظلم وليس مأخوذا بالحق. He said, but look, he made an exception. He said, but if people use effort like designing logo or a website, he said that they can get a reward for it. Not their political influence. You bring a designer and said, I want you to design a website for me, nice one. He said that's permissible. Design a nice logo for me, very attractive. That's effort. But not me using, the president of the United States, I'm calling this company and says, you know what? I want the federal government to buy oil from this company. Boom. The prices, there's nothing, no competition, nothing. That's what's gonna, that's not permissible. You manipulate in the market. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر